We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
All right, Mahi. Since his previous questions and further listening, he's found that his current Boston Acoustics speakers fatiguing / ringing after long sessions, so his plans have changed.
He convinced himself he needs new speakers.
I'm fine with that.
Don't worry, Mahi. I am fine with that.
Yeah, we're okay with that. You did your due diligence. Whatever. I don't care. He definitely wants towers. How big is this room? Do we remember? Is it big?
I don't recall.
Doesn't
But I'm fine with someone wanting towers, so I won't question.
And we would put them behind an acoustically transparent screen, so looks are not a factor. He's narrows his choice down to the Ascend Sierra Towers, the Revel Performa3 F208 towers, and the RBH SV-6500R towers. And these range from the Ascend being $2,700 up to the Revel being $5,000, and the RBH just being a little bit less than that at $4,400 a pair.
Yeah, those are all per pair prices.
Right, those are per pair prices. Now, those are the ones he said. Now, I'm fairly certain that he has not heard all three of these speakers.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so
I really don't think he has.
I don't think he has, but let's just go on. How does the Sierra's RAAL ribbon tweeters compare to the Revel's Silk Dome or RBH's AMT tweeter? Is the RAAL ribbon tweeter better than Silk Dome or the AMT? We've discussed this numerous times on the podcast in many different ways. There are objectively better materials for making a tweeter or a driver of any kind. They're objectively better. Does it mean that tweeter is going to be better than any other tweeter in all applications? The answer to that question is no. You take a very good tweeter, you put it in a very bad box and with a very terrible crossover, and it's going to sound like garbage before it melts itself down. So there's no reason to think that any of these tweeter applications that you're looking at here, that any of them are in any way, fundamentally flawed in their execution. All three of these speaker manufacturers put out quality products. Therefore, I would not think that you would be seeing somebody taking something and putting it into their speaker, any of these manufacturers, that would compromise the integrity or the ability of that driver to do its absolute best. So, I mean, I just don't think that, I honestly don't think that any one of these is the tweeter by itself. I mean, the answer to the question is it better than? No.
No, this is a case of different.
Yeah.
It's certainly a case of you might have a preference.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you might have a preference. But to just say this is clearly better than the other, I mean, all of these are very good speakers by very good manufacturers. Yeah. What's interesting, I mean, this is my personal opinion, but I actually think that the Ascend Sierra Towers with the RAAL ribbon tweeters, and I would assume, based on what I know of RBH, because I haven't heard these are brand new.
These are brand new.
SV-6500Rs. These are part of their SV Signature Reference Series, and they're using their new Air Motion tweeter, the folded ribbon tweeter. I haven't heard them, but just going by the very solid reputation of RBH, I would expect them to be a very good speaker. The Revel Performa3 series, in my opinion, again, different sounding. But if you were to ask me, what do I think is sort of equivalent in an overall quality? Like, yes, there might be differences, but in a large scale, what equal quality type of thing, I would put the Ascend Sierra Towers closer to actually the Ultima series from Revel. So to me, the Performa3 series, it would be a little bit tough to say is the high value. You might certainly like them. In fact, you might like them the best, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But my opinion is that they're the outlier out of this group of three that costs more, but in my opinion isn't quite as good. But in terms of what's objectively true about the tweeters, the RAAL ribbon tweeter will have narrower vertical dispersion. It has quite wide horizontal dispersion. The tweeter in the Revel, being a dome in a waveguide, has wider dispersion both vertically and horizontally. So that's just an objective thing.
Yeah.
The RAAL ribbon tweeter does have faster transient response. When the signal says stop, it stops faster than the Revel Silk Dome tweeter. The AMT tweeter, I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't seen how fast, but in general, folded ribbon tweeters have very, very fast transient response because they barely need to move. They also tend to have narrower dispersion. That seems to be a common characteristic. So, I mean, is one better than the other in it? No, that's just a characteristic. But if you know that vertical dispersion, really wide vertical dispersion is something you might need, then maybe you'll favor a dome tweeter. Whereas if you're like, you know what, I'd rather not have a strong ceiling and floor bounce, then the narrower vertical dispersion is actually a benefit to you. So it's just a characteristic.
Yeah, placement of your speakers could be a huge factor here.
Oh, yes.
And
room acoustics.
Room acoustics. And when we talk about this faster response as well, objectively, these things are true. Now, subjectively, are you going to hear the difference? Well, a lot of it depends on your room, your placement, how close you're sitting, a bunch of other things, which may completely overcast any performance differences between one tweeter or another, especially at the level that we're talking about here. So second here, he asks, are there any other reasons the Revels or Revels or whatever and the RBHs are worth the extra cost over the Sierra Towers? Well, I mean, it depends on how much you like their sound compared to the other ones. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, that's what you're coming. Now, what Dave Fabricant over at Ascend is going to say is, you're getting more bang for your buck because I don't have to pay dealers.
And he doesn't do any marketing.
Yeah, that's
he does
true.
no marketing. He has no marketing budget.
So, part of what you're paying for with RBH and Revel is that. That's just part of it. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not making, he's not marking them up, a considerable amount compared.
Well, he isn't.
But when it comes,
I know for a fact he isn't. His markup is not much over at Ascend.
So I mean that's part of what you're paying for with those. You're paying for all the other stuff and the research that goes into it and everything else. This is all.
I gotta say though, $4,400 a pair for just the drivers that are in those RBH speakers. I'm kind of surprised at that price.
They have been killing it with the.
They could
pricings.
Charge more easily, and it would be justifiable in my opinion.
Yeah.
So like I say, I wish I had heard those RBHs, because to me, those are the two I'd probably be looking at the most, would be the Ascend Sierra Towers and the RBHs. Again, if I was looking at Revel to compete against those, I'd be looking at their Ultima series, and then the price is even higher.
Yeah.
So maybe that helps you right away. Maybe it's possible for you to bring in both of those. Both the RBHs and the Ascends. Yes, there will obviously be some return shipping cost or something like that. But, if you're looking in this price range, that could very much be worth it to you. If you're like, you know what, I've narrowed it down to two choices, I'm going to bring them both in and decide which one I like better. Because this is a long-term purchase, right? This isn't a trivial thing.
Yeah. So if you were offered any one of these pairs of speakers for free, which one would we choose and why? I'd go with the RBHs. That would be mine, almost. I wouldn't have to hesitate with that one.
Since I've lived with the Horizon RAAL for a while now, I would take the RBHs too, because I'd be like, well, why would for free, why would I take the same speakers I already have? I will take the ones that I anticipate will sound very good. I would be excited to hear them, so I would absolutely take the RBHs for free myself.
My experience with RBH has been so positive with every product that they've put out, everything from their very bottom line, the entry level stuff, all the way up to stuff that costs many thousands of dollars. That
the status acoustic stuff.
I have more faith in them to put out a product that is, when their price point goes up, you are getting more performance. I believe that more than I believe that the sun is going to rise in the east and set in the west. I believe it because I've met these guys. I've had dinner with these guys. I know these guys. I mean, they're good. They're good people, and they, much like what Rob is saying about Ascend Acoustics. I mean, these guys are just engineering geek guys. I mean, they just
Yeah.
love this stuff. And I'm like, you could charge more. They're like, yeah, but that's fine. I'm like, no, you should charge more. You can make more money. They're like, nah, no, we're good. So I that would be me. I would have no problems. Now, if you A/B'd them, I might have a completely different reaction. If you give me a blind test, I might have a completely different reaction. But just based on specs and my relationship with them, I don't think that the Sierras are any way worse than the RBHs because I have no idea. I just know that I know what I know about RBH, and that's why I would do that. So, are there any other speakers in the 5 to 6K per pair range that we would recommend over these?
Now, I wouldn't be saying over, but I do have one I think would be worth hearing that you can probably find in a store somewhere.
Yeah.
And that would be KEF, their R series.
Yeah, sure.
I'd look at their R900 towers go for about $5,000 a pair. At least on KEF Direct they do because they're $2,500 each. So that works out to $5,000 a pair. Yeah, I'd try to take a listen to those because KEF has, they're a very neutral sound, but they have their particular way of doing things, particularly with that coaxial tweeter and mid-range driver. And again, this is very much possibly dependent on your room acoustics, but it can be a real benefit in many setups to use that coaxial driver arrangement. So to me, those would be worth a listen in this price range.
DALIs. I might look
call.
toward DALI as well. DALI is a company I've had some good experiences with. I mean, not as universally good as RBH, but their Mentor series, I believe, I think they were like $5,000 a pair for bookshelves, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong about that, but the DALIs, I believe, puts out some real quality stuff, especially at the higher price points. You see, the problem is that some of these companies like DefTech and Golden Ear and all this other stuff, as soon as you get it up into this price point, they start adding like powered subwoofers to everything.
It's all about the powered subwoofers.
And I'm just like, you're just literally throwing money away as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if you have those speakers, please don't think I think that you threw your money away. What I'm saying is, if you're gonna buy subwoofers anyways, we're just gonna tell you to use them as regular speakers. And that's fine. If you're sitting far away, you might need those power subwoofers that are in there. But most people don't. And I feel like for most people, it'd just be more cost effective to just buy some, real decent speakers that don't have the money spent on amps and other stuff in there. So,
well, we narrowed it down to 2 and then expanded it up to 4 for you. So you're welcome.
I'm surprised you didn't say Focal anywhere in there. It seems like
I was thinking of it, but I mean, to me, if you're looking in this sort of performance range, I'd really want to look at the Focal Electra BE series, which are more expensive than this.
Yeah.
Any of the towers that they have in the Electra BE series. Now, I mean, if you want to take a step down to their Aria 900 series, then by all means, they'll be in this price range, and they would be worth a listen. I mean, but to me, the Electra BE series is where Focal really sort of takes a jump ahead, and they'd be more expensive than this price range. So that's sort of why I didn't hop right to them.
Yeah, a lot of the companies that I'm thinking of, like Mordon Short, had a really cool tower speaker a while back that I liked, but I don't think they sell that anymore. I don't think if this is what you're looking at, you're not going to be looking at like clips or anything like that. I don't think that anything from the Canadian manufacturers is really going to interest you all that much.
Well, I mean, PSB has some really nice speakers.
Yeah,
they do.
Monitor Audio could be thrown in there.
We could just sit here and name speaker brands all day. We're supposed to be trying to narrow it down for Mahi.
They shouldn't have asked that question. All right. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.